Howdy, gang. It's me again. Thanks for sticking with me through this. I'm going to do a quick review with image samples on the 100 to 400 f4.5 to 5.6L IS Mark II. I picked this up about a week ago, and I am thrilled with this. Now, there's another gentleman on YouTube that did a review comparing that to my big dog, to the 200 to 400 f4L IS with a built-in 1.4x teleconverter. And we both have the same, well, he's got a lot more gear than I do, but I figured I'd do my own review. I left a comment on his video, and I'll post a link to his video in the description of my video. So you can go in and watch that, because it's really good. And I've been debating, I mentioned in the comment, I've been debating on selling this. I've only had it about 2 months. But what I found, let me just go through the advantages and disadvantages first, and this will all tie it together. So the difference between this right here, and this, all you have to do is look at it. This I got for scouting and hand-holding, speed, and wanted a nice light lens. And when I show you these images, and you can go in and look at his, but he did large mammals, and I figured I'd do a comparison with small birds. Now, I did a video on the 2024 eclipse earlier today, and that was all done on the 200 to 400, the big one, the monster, the beast, whatever they call him. I call it the beast. So does everybody else, because it is a beast. And I'm not going to bring images into this from that 200 to 400. This is just strictly images from the 100 to 400 Mark II, this one. And you can go back in and watch that video and look at the comparison. When you see the sharpness, the capability of this lens, it's terrifying. Now, again, I bought this because the 200 to 400 is a heavy lens, and I'm not really thrilled about scouting with that lens. I will definitely take that lens in with me if I know where I'm going and what I'm doing, and I have an objective, and I'm going to be set up in a few locations within a short distance, but I'm not hauling that thing around all day. That ain't gonna happen. So I wanted to put this through the ringer with small birds, and I did that today. So I used an off-camera flash. Light was kind of up and down, but this will be a good demonstration with small birds how effective this lens can be. Now, the biggest disadvantage with this lens, this is the reason why I don't know if I'm going to sell the 200 to 400. In small bird photography, especially if you're using a camera that is an APS-C sensor, in other words, it's a crop sensor. The Canon 90D is an APS-C 1.6 crop factor. Now this at 400, both of these lenses at 400 millimeters on the 90D, the 35 millimeter equivalent with that crop factor is over 600 millimeters at 400 millimeters on the lens. So they both perform equal from that aspect. They're both maximum focal length of 400 meters, but What I found, especially with APS-C sensors, is that if you're shooting in low light and you have to do extreme cropping and your ISO is high, you will get a lot of noise, and that's a problem. My personal belief in anything is every stop counts. Every f-stop counts. You want the fastest lens you can possibly get, especially on an APS-C sensor. This is only one stop slower at f5.6. That's a constant aperture f4, the 200 to 400. Here's the catch. The 200 to 400 f4 has a built-in teleconverter, 1.4x teleconverter. So take the APS-C crop out of the equation. That goes with a 1.4x teleconverter. You lose one stop of light, so it goes to 5.6, right? You kick that teleconverter in, it equals this, but you just gained, I think it goes to like 640 millimeter, somewhere in there. This is stuck at f4 at 5.6. Now you can put a teleconverter on this, but it'll 1.4 will jump it to f8, and I have shot images with 1.4x on here. Even the cheap Tamron, I think it's a Tamron SP 1.4x, and it's amazingly good, but it's an f8 at full focal length. So there you go. You're losing a lot of light. You wouldn't think one stop would make a difference, but I'm telling you, it makes a difference. So that's the reason why I'm very hesitant to sell the f4, the 200 to 400s, because it gives me an extra stop and additional focal length, which puts me with that lens on an APS-C sensor with the 1.4x, puts that about 905 millimeter. Yeah. So I get that extra reach out and touch someone along with the speed. The average person, I don't know if that would be a factor. In good light, this is awesome. But the sun never shines here. It's terrible. The weather is just horrid. So it's been horrid for months. So we get like, I think we've had maybe 5 or 6 sunny days, actual sunny days, like cobalt blue sky, in months. I kid you not, months, like since freaking January. And it's April, second week of April. So yeah, speed matters in my world. I need fast lenses. However, when you see the sharpness of this lens, it's freaking awesome for a fraction of the cost of that. If you don't shoot a lot in low light, this is a winner. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't even have that 200 to 400. The only reason I'm pretty much sure that I'm keeping the 200 to 400 is because of the low light situation. I need that extra stop, because if you do the calculations on it, you're talking the difference of, let's say, 1600 ISO and an 800 ISO. Now I can tell you on the 90D, if you want to go wall hanger size prints, you really don't want to be at 1600, up around 2000. It's okay, it's good, but you want to be down around 800, 400, somewhere in there on the ISO. So, especially if you're cropping. You're going to crop the image, yes. And small birds, I don't care what anybody says. I always have to crop those unless you're shooting with like a 1200 millimeter and you're 20 feet away all the time. Most of the time I'm not. I could be up to 40 feet, 45 feet away to get what I want to get. So there you go. All right, so that pretty much rounds the horn on that deal. So let's jump over to the other screen, and we'll step through some images. Now these were just got mild correction on them and cropped. So this image is cropped, and this is, I believe, a lot of pine siskin. Shot a lot of pine siskin and house finch, goldfinch, got a chickadee, and some stuff like that. So this, I believe, is a pine siskin. I can't really tell, but I think the yellow barbs are right here on the feathers. And I recognize the head. I'm pretty sure that's a pine siskin. So if I undo the crop, that's uncropped. Okay, so let's crop it back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in. We're going to take a good close look. 75. There's 100%. Look at the beak. Look at the beak. I did have off-camera flash firing. You can see the catch lights in the eye. It's like scalpel sharp. It may have pre-focused a little bit on this branch right here. Looks like the branch is pretty good. But you can already see, now this is at ISO 250. So with a crop, you can already see noise coming in. See this? That's what I'm talking about. All right, so it was cloudy sky as usual. Very diffuse lighting. What was the exposure? Exposure was 1/800th of a second at 5.6. So lens was wide open at 400 millimeter, 35 millimeter equivalent, 646 millimeter. So let's jump to the next image. It's a goldfinch. This is a crack up. Zoom out. Okay, so that's the image cropped. This is the image uncropped. So let's crop it again, and then we're going to give it a serious zoom here. That's 100%. That is scalpel sharp. That's good. That's really good. That's the 100-400. Okay, let's jump to the next image. Cropped. Uncropped. All of these images, by the way, were full zoom at 400 millimeters, 640 something, 35 millimeter equivalent with the 1.6 crop. So that's uncropped. Let's crop it. Let's take a closer look. Oh yeah, that's money right there. Can it compete? Truly compete with the 200-400? My gut tells me it's not quite as sharp as the 200-400, but it would make sense considering the 200-400 is freaking $10,000 to $12,000. I didn't pay that for it. I bought it used, but yeah. But that's pretty impressive. That was at ISO 200. So you can see that there's a little bit of noise starting to come in because of that extreme crop at 100%. But zoomed out, it's nice. It's perfectly acceptable. This would be like roughly size I'd go for if I was going to print it. You know. Next image. The goldfinch. I don't know why he was squinting his eyes, but cropped. Uncropped. We'll do a little zoom, take a closer look. Check out the feather detail. Eye in focus. You can see the noise coming in. I see the ISO had jumped to 400 right here. So that's a 90, that's almost 100% crop. You see what I'm saying? It's a tough deal. Let's go to the other image. This is a house finch. This is a really nice image. I have two of these. Like them both. Now this noise, I can take care of this with a denoiser. That's not a problem. Darktable has an excellent denoiser algorithm in here. So I can completely smooth that out. That is not a problem. So this is uncropped. It's uncropped, which is still, it's a nice image, you know. You can see the noise pretty much disappears. But the minute you go into crop, there it is cropped. So let's zoom it in a little bit. You see the noise all around here, but you can take a look at the feather detail, eyes in focus. Let's go to the next one. Okay, these, what was the other one? Okay, that was ISO 400. Now this is with all off-camera flash as well, because the light was so low, I had to bring in a little bit of fill, and you can see it in his eye right there. Lights his eye up. Same thing with this, except this is ISO 1000. So this is ISO 1000, and we'll uncrop it. So that's what it is, uncropped. Now, I was sitting about 20 feet away in a chair when I took these. And you can see the shadow on the stick from the flash. But it's very balanced. If I didn't tell you that, you almost wouldn't even know there was a flash on there. That's my goal, is if I'm using the flash, it needs to look pretty natural. So you can see a nice hair light still from the light coming down from up above. Flash may be a little hot. She's a little hot, I think. Maybe about half a stop. Zoom in a little bit. Take a closer look. Looks pretty nice. It's actually a really nice image. That's 87%. There's 100%. So you can see you get into 100%, she starts falling apart. But, you know, let's come out to like 50%. This is roughly 50%, like print size. That is very acceptable. That's really, really good. Okay. Let's look at this one, the supine siskin. Now this is uncropped. That is uncropped. This is cropped. See, now if I had the 200 to 400 out there, I could have engaged the 1.4x. I wouldn't hardly have to crop it at all. I probably would have had to have zoomed out a little bit. See, that's the advantage. With a drastically higher, I mean, we're talking 904 millimeter, still at f5.6. You kind of see where I'm going? So let's zoom in a little bit. That's 87%. Now it's interesting, you can see, looks like the eye went out of focus right here, and as it moves back, you can see the bill. The beak is sharp as a tack, and so is the branch. So his beak is hanging over the branch, and the depth of field is so shallow, I should have stopped down to probably f6.3, f7, and all of this would have gone really sharp. But see how shallow it is? It's insane, isn't it? Let's look at a goldfinch. Uncropped. Let's crop it in. This is ISO 640. It was floating because the light was changing constantly. This is one of the ones where I noticed that when I use the fill flash, you have to be very careful with goldfinches, these particular birds, because you can blow them out with very, very little. It like hyper saturates. It's very reflective. for some reason. Now these are, it's something to do with the red. It absorbs the light. The goldfinch, no. No, it becomes so brilliant that it's almost unreal. So let's, this was, yep, 646 millimeter. So zoomed all the way in, 1/800th of a second at 5.6. All of these were shot wide open at 5.6 on the lens. And you can see that that is a freaking razor blade, man. That's ridiculous. Look at the feathers. Beak, the eye. Look at the detail in the feathers. Crazy, isn't it? Come back out. Let's jump to this guy. This guy is a little bit of a mess. This was photographer error, but I wanted to grab it quick. He kept lunging. He was getting ready to go, and I just wanted to make sure I grabbed a shot. This is another pine siskin. You can see the yellow barbs on his wings. And you can see the catch light in his eyes, so the flash did go off. This is uncropped. Zoom in. It's okay. The beak is perfectly in focus, and you can see it move as it moves out of this area. You can see it start to go out. Comes over his head, goes out of focus, continually goes out of focus. Even his feet are out of focus. So it did capture the head area. These birds are so tiny. I really think the best approach is don't shoot wide open. I'm going to start playing with this too, because I'm going to start stopping down deliberately to like just a little bit and go to like 6.3, 7, maybe f8, and just see what happens. I bet you that this entire area, because it's obviously focusing, it's pulling focus somewhere in here. The beaks tend to be awfully sharp all the time. So I think this focus is locking in on the beak for some reason. I try to grab the eye, but whatever. Anyways, kind of a fun shot. I'm keeping that. I don't care if it is a little fuzzy. And the last one, the almighty chickadee. I don't have many shots of chickadees, so you can see the flash fired. You can see a shadow right here from the stick. Flash was over here on the left-hand side, probably up here somewhere. Not quite eye level with the bird. Uncropped. Cropped. Let's give a peek. ISO was 1250 on this. And it looks like it grabbed focus on the body. I didn't get the eye, but they twitch constantly. They move. These are all single captures. I did not have continuous drive enabled. The what do you call it? This was just one single capture for every press of the shutter. I'm having a brain out. So you can see that it caught this area. This is how shallow the depth of field is. Look at the feathers right here. Look at that. And then look up here. A little out. So I would never print this big anyways. You know, there it looks perfectly fine. And that's pretty big on the monitor. That's almost a freaking 11 by 14. So that's pretty big. So anyways, that is the deal. Like always, I show my successes and failures. I want to do that. And I bought this used. I got it for $800 off of what it is brand new. And the one thing I wanted to talk about that I love about this lens, see, I have it's still in the cabinet. I have a 100-400 version 1. I hated that lens. Hardly ever used it. It was a piece of crap as far as I was concerned. It was terrible. This is not that. This is light years ahead of the Mark I, the first version of the 100-400. The one thing about the original one is that the lens hood was a standard lens hood in the sense that you put it on and you twist it and it locks in. Now you can be walking down the freaking trail, and unless it's rocky, you'll never hear the thing fall off. This thing can't fall off. It has to be released by a button right here. So you push this button and twist it, and it comes off. Now, one cool thing about this lens hood is if you do anything like landscape photography, nature photography, and you want to use that lens, you want to use like neutral density filters or polarizing filters, it has a trap door in it where you can stick your finger through and you can spin the filter. Slick. And when this lens arrived, I was very, very skeptical. It said it was in excellent condition. I'm telling you, when this thing arrived, it looked brand freaking new. I mean, there isn't a mark on this lens. The glass is absolutely just like it came out of the factory. I can't believe it. Worth every penny. $800 off of new? It's as close to new as you can get. The only thing I found is on the lens hood. Where is it? You can only see it under certain light. Well, where are you? See, I can't even find it. Oh, there it is. There's a little tiny scratch right there on the lens hood. That's the only mark on the entire lens. $800 off. Worth every freaking penny. Can you believe it? So, I don't know. Is it worth dumping the big dog for that? I can't honestly make up my mind. I can tell you every time I shoot with a 200-400, that thing is a wet dream. It is a photographer's wet dream. It's crackerjack. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention as well, because that one is so good in low light, it pulls remember I said every stop matters, because that's one stop quicker than this at maximum focal length. That thing focuses like a demon. It focuses really, really good in low light. This one struggles. You get in low light and you get, let's say you're shooting a gray or brown bird. Let's say it's some kind of sparrow, and you have a gray or brown background. In low light, this thing will struggle. What I have to do is I have to pre-focus quickly. I pre-focus with this ring, and then I hit the button, and boom, it grabs it, and I grab the shot. That one I never have to do that with. That's a huge difference right there. That could be your make or break deal. Like I said, low light. If you do a lot of shooting in low light, see, locks on, that can't twist off. If you do a lot of shooting in low light, that may be an issue for you. So, honest. I'm just being honest. I love them both, and I'm telling you, I'm keeping this because this is going with me. This is going around my neck with a camera body on it. When I'm going up to scout a lake, a pond. It's a wildlife management area, which I completely forgot about. And I'll be going up there hopefully this week if we can get a nice day and take a look. Supposedly there's a lot of songbirds, waterfowl, all kinds of stuff. So that'll be a great lens. Take a walk through the woods. I'll throw the 1.4x teleconverter in my pocket, and away we go. I could walk all day with that freaking thing. We'll see you later. Have a good day, and thanks for watching. We'll see you around, folks.